This is the video for section 1.8, simplifying expressions. We need to go over a couple of definitions. First definition is the word term. Term are numbers and variables that are being multiplied or divided. And notice that you could have just a regular number all by itself, like this -6. It doesn't have any variables with it. That's considered a term. Terms are separated by addition and subtraction signs. The next definition we have are like terms. They have the same variables and the same exponents. And here are some examples that we have. And notice that 3x squared and 5x cubed are not like terms because they have different exponents. The next definition is the distributive property. And you'll probably remember this from high school. When you have a number or a term outside the parentheses and then two terms inside the parentheses that are being added or subtracted, you can distribute the factor that is outside the parentheses. So for example, this 2 parentheses 3x plus 4, we can multiply everything in the parentheses by 2. And then over here on the right-hand side, we see this example where 5 is being multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. I know as we go through this video, the numbering on these problems are going to be kind of odd because when I have these handouts in class, I have one page for each type of problem. So these first type of problems that I have, you can see here, is going to be combining like terms without negatives. So I have a whole page of this, and those problems are numbered 1 through 8. And then my next sheet is combining like terms with negatives, and then I start the numbering over again. So just be aware of that, is that the numbering looks kind of odd here in the video. In my first set of problems here, my directions are simply going to be to simplify, combining my like terms. Now, even if I didn't tell you anything about what we're going to be doing, and I just ask you to guess at problem number 1, I think everybody would guess the right answer. 4c plus 3c is 7c. What you are doing here is you are just adding these coefficients, 4 and 3. Now with problem 2, there's not a coefficient, but remember a is the same thing as 1 times a. So if you want to stick a 1 up there in front of that a, you can, and then you're going to add your coefficients. 5 and 1 is 6, so you have 6a for your answer. Now problem 3 is a little bit different because now we're starting to have more than one variable in my problem. And remember that when you have a bunch of things added together, you normally just do them from left to right because of your order of operations. But I can switch these things around because addition is commutative, and I can have 10x plus 4x plus 7y. So now everything's in the right order. So now I can combine this 10x and 4x and get 14x plus 7y. Now, once you do a couple of these, you probably don't even need to do that step with rearranging. You could probably leave out this step and just in your head put the 10x and the 4x together and give you 14x. Problem number 4, I have 17a plus 6 plus 2. I'm going to combine my like terms. Remember, addition is commutative and associative, so I can associate this 6 plus 2 together and have 17a plus 8. Combine those two constants. Okay, in this next set of problems, I'm going to do these slightly different because I'm going to do these the way that you would be able to do these on your paper if you don't have highlighters. I'm going to put the x's together and I'm going to put the y's together, but I'm going to sort of just do that in my head. I'm not going to take the time to rewrite it. But what I am going to do is to put a circle around this 2x and a circle around this plus 5x to know that they go together. Be sure you get that plus sign in the circle. And then I'm going to put boxes around the y's. So I have plus 6y plus 3y. So this is going to help me out for a couple of different reasons. If I look at my problem and I see there are circles and boxes around everything, then I see that I haven't left out anything. And it's easy for me to see, okay, the circles go together, the boxes go together. So when I add the two circled terms together, 2x and 5x is 7x. When I add the two y terms together, 6y and 3y is 9y. For problem 6, I'm going to circle the two constants, 12 and then plus 20. And then I'm going to box my variables plus x and plus 10x. Again, be sure that the sign that's in front of that term goes inside the box. 12 and 20 is 32. I'm going to put a 1 in front of this x. So I'm going to have 1x and 10x, and that is 11x. Now, I need to stop here and say something. This is a perfectly fine answer for this lesson. Later on in chapter 5, they're going to want you to put their answer in descending order. So your answer is going to have the variable first and then the constant. But for right now, this is okay. Either one of these answers is okay for right now. Okay, problem 7 and problem 8, you can see we have exponents involved here. So I'm going to circle the squares, and I'm going to box the cubes. So for problem 7, I have 5x squared and 7x squared, so you add your coefficients. 5 and 7 is 12, so I have 12x squared. And then add the cubes, 2x cubed and 4x cubed is 6x cubed. And again, this is a perfectly fine answer for this problem. But later on in chapter 5, they're going to want the bigger exponent first. So they will want you to switch this around to 6x cubed plus 12x squared. So be sure that you understand that either one of those are okay for right now, but you are going to eventually have to be sure that you put them in descending order. So just pay attention to the directions. If you're ever confused, look at an example in my math lab and see how they have their answer, and that will tell you how you need to have your answer as well. Okay, let me pause the video and let you try to do problem 8 on your own. Okay, and there's your answer for problem number 8. Again, you are not doing anything with the exponents here. You are just simply adding your coefficients. Okay, in this next part, we're going to be combining like terms with negatives. So in this first problem, I have negative 3 plus 10. We are simply going to be adding our coefficients. Negative 3 and 10 is 7. So the answer here is 7x. In problem 2, you can think of this as a couple of different ways. If you want to change this to plus negative 8, you can. But 3 minus 8, hopefully you can do that in your head by now. That's negative 5, so your answer here is negative 5x. With these next problems, I'm going to go back to the circles and boxes because they have variables and constants or two different variables. So for problem 3, I'm going to circle the x's. So I'm going to have 6x and then plus x. I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 there, so it's plus 1x. And then I'm going to put boxes around the y's, so I'll have plus 1y and minus 9y. So when I add the x's together, 6x and 1x is 7x. And when I combine the y's, 1y and negative 9y is negative 8y, so I write minus 8y. Problem 4, we're going to circle the m's, and I'm going to box my constants. So when I combine the m's, 8m and negative 7m, or 8m minus 7m is 1m, and we're just going to write m. Negative 14 and negative 11 is negative 25, so we're going to write minus 25. Okay, problem 5, we're going to combine our constants, which is going to be the 4 and the -7. And then I don't have anything to combine with this a term. So 4 and -7 is -3. And the a term is going to be -3a. Now, if you were to switch this around and have the a first, so I'd have -3a minus 3, that's fine too. Either one of those answers are. Problem 6, we're going to combine our a terms. So we'll combine 2a and -5a. And then we'll combine our b terms, 6b and -8b. So putting the a terms together, we have -3a, and putting the b terms together, we'll have -2b. Okay, let me give you a minute to pause the video and try to do problems 7 and 8 on your own. And there are your answers for problems 7 and 8. Okay, well, have you tried one more problem on your own? So try number 9 on your own. Come back and check your answer. Okay, there's your answer for problem 9. Now let's look at problem 10. At first glance, this looks like all the other problems, but there's a little bit different thing going on with this one. We're going to put our x's together, and we're going to put our y's together. When I combine my x's, 5x and -2x is 3x, 3y and -3y is 0y, or just 0. Well, I don't really need to put that plus 0 there. The answer is just 3x. And with problem 11, notice I have this -x, and I can put a 1 here in front of that if it helps. So I can combine this -1x and a +3x, and then I'm going to combine the 5y and the 4y. So putting the x's together, I have 2x. Putting the y's together, I have 9y. On problem 12, I'm going to put the x squareds together. So I'm going to put a circle around those. And I'm going to put the x's together. So I'm going to put a box around those. So when I combine the x squareds, 7x squared, 4x squared is 11x squared. Combining the x's, -3x minus 2x is -5x. Okay, problems 13 and 14 you can try on your own. You could probably do these in your head at this point and then come back and check your answers. And there are your answers for 13 and 14. And again, you can write your answer in a couple different ways. It doesn't matter which order the terms go in right now, but later on when we get to chapter 5, it will matter. Okay, these next set of problems are dealing with the distributive property, and these problems are actually from section 1.7 in your textbook. And you probably remember doing this type of stuff in high school when you're multiplying 4 times the stuff that's inside the parentheses. You probably had your teacher do this type of thing. This is common to see in textbooks. Everything inside the parentheses gets multiplied by the 4. So 4 times x is 4x. Bring down the plus sign. 4 times 3 is 12. And problem 2, we're multiplying everything in the parentheses by the 3. You're going to multiply 3 times 5x and get 15x. Bring down the subtraction sign and then multiply 3 times 7 and you get 21. Problem 3, you're going to distribute this 5. So 5 gets multiplied by 2m and you get 10m. Bring down the plus sign, and then you're also going to multiply 5 times 3n and get 15n. Problem 4, you're multiplying everything in the parentheses by 6. So you're going to have 6x plus 6y for your answer. Okay, problem 5, I'm going to distribute the 7. 7 times a is 7a. Bring down the subtraction sign. 7 times 4b is 28b. Now problem 6 I can do a couple of different ways. I can distribute this 2 like it is, right? Distribute it with the 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Bring down the plus sign. And then 2 times 4w is 8w. But remember that multiplication is commutative. So if you would prefer to switch this around to where it's 2 times 3 plus 4w, you can do that as well and then distribute. Notice that what is inside the parentheses here is in the same order right here. So you keep the same order inside the parentheses and then just distribute the 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Bring down the plus sign. 2 times 4w is 8w. You get the same answer either way. So let me give you a second to try problem 7 on your own. I distribute into 3. You can see our answer there is 9x minus 6. Problem 8, we're going to distribute this 1/2. So we'll have 1/2 times 4c. Half of 4 is 2. And then 1/2 times 10. Half of 10 is 5. Okay, on these next set of problems, we're still distributing fractions. 1/4 times 8x, 1/4 of 8. If you need some extra room over here, come over here on scratch paper somewhere and do this like we did in our very first lesson. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 1 is 2, so this is 2x. And then you have 1/4 times 20. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 1 is 5, so this is plus 5y. So let me give you a second to pause the video and try to do the remaining 3 problems on your own. And there are your answers for problems 10 through 12. Normally, if students have questions about this, they'll have questions with problem 12. So let's look at that one a little bit closer. When I distribute this 3/4 times 8, remember that I can take 4 into 8, will go 2 times 2 times 3 is 6. And then when I have 3/4 times 24, say 4 goes into 24 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, this next set of problems is using the distributive property with negatives. And we are still going to do the same type of thing. We're going to multiply everything in the parentheses by what is outside the parentheses. So in this first problem, I'm going to multiply 5 times negative 6x squared and get negative 30x squared. Remember, you are just multiplying these coefficients. You're not doing anything with the exponent. And then I'm going to bring down that subtraction sign. 5 times 3 is 15. Problem number 2, you can do this a couple of different ways. Most textbooks have you to put a 1 here and then just act like this is negative 1 that you're distributing. So you have negative 1 times 3y is negative 3y. And we're going to think of this as negative 1 times negative 7. Taking that subtraction sign and thinking of that as negative 7. So negative 1 times negative 7 is positive 7. So you write down plus 7. Problem 3, you're distributing the negative 3. So negative 3 times 2y is negative 6y. And here you're going to have negative 3 times negative 8. And that's positive 24, so you write down plus 24. Problem 4, negative 5 times negative 2x. Negative times a negative is positive, so this is 10x. Negative 5 times a positive 7 is negative 35, so we're going to write down minus 35. And problem 5, negative 8 times positive 3 is negative 24. So you have negative 24y squared. And negative 8 times a positive 4 is negative 32, so minus 32. Then problem 6, you're going to distribute the negative 3. So negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. And in the second part of the problem, you're going to think of this as a negative 5x. So you have negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. So negative 9 plus 15x is your answer there. Okay, for these next set of problems, I want you to try to do these on your own. And there are your answers for those last 6 problems. Okay, these next set of problems are combining like terms with the distributive property. So we're putting everything together on these last set of problems. First thing I want to do is to distribute and then combine my like terms. So in problem 1, I'm going to distribute the 5. So I multiply 5 times x and 5 times 4. And then I add my like terms together, so 20 plus 7 is 27. On problem 2, distributing the 4, I get 12x plus 24 minus 2. And I'm going to combine these last 2 terms together, a positive 24 and a negative 2. 24 minus 2 is 22. Now, problem 3, it is very tempting to want to add the 7 and 2 and get 9 first, but remember you have to distribute first. So I'm going to bring the 7 straight down, the plus sign straight down, and then distribute the 2. So 2 times 3a is 6a, 2 times 5 is 10, and then combine my like terms. Same thing with problem 4. You need to be sure that you are distributing first. So let me give you a minute to pause this and try to do problem 4 on your own. And the answer there is 20c plus 14. Okay, with these 4 problems, I'm going to do these a little bit different. I'm going to do the ones over here on the left side and then ask you to do the ones on the right-hand side. So problem 5, distributing this negative 2. I get negative 4x, negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6, and then combining my like terms, I have negative 4x plus 13. Problem 7, the first thing I'm going to do is bring down the 6y and the plus sign, and then I'm going to distribute the 4. I'm going to have 4 times 2, which is 8. And then I'm going to distribute the 4 over here to the 4y, so I'm going to have minus 16y. And when I combine my like terms, I'm going to combine this 6y and this negative 16y. There's nothing to pair up with that 8, but the y terms combine to give me negative 10y, so negative 10y plus 8 for my answer. Now I want you to pause the video and try to do the next 2 on your own. And there are the answers for those 2 problems. Okay, with these 4 problems, we're going to do the same thing as we did last time. I'm going to do the 2 problems on the left, and you'll do the 2 problems on the right. Notice that with this problem, problem number 9, I have a subtraction right here. So this is different than the other problems. So when I distribute, I'm going to think of this as distributing a negative 2. Right? So the first thing I want to do is bring down this 3x. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, so I have negative 8x. And negative 2 times positive 5 is negative 10, and then combining my like terms, I have negative 5x minus 10. With problem 11, again, I'm going to be distributing this negative 3. Bring down that 4x. Negative 3 times positive 5 is negative 15. And I'm going to have a negative 3 times a negative 1, which is positive 3. Okay, again, you're going to think of that minus 1 as negative 1, and a negative times a negative is positive. So combining your like terms here, you get negative 11x plus 3. So I want you to try to do 10 and 12 on your own. Okay, there are your answers for problems 10 and 12. Okay, problem 13. I'm going to start off by bringing down this -5, and I'm going to distribute a -2. So I have -2 times 3x, so that's -6x. -2 times +2 is a -4. So combining my like terms, I have -9 minus 6x. Problem 14. Notice that I don't have a number in front of these parentheses, but I can put one there if I want to. I'm going to put a -1 there. And I'm going to think of this problem as distributing a -1. So I'm going to bring down that -4x and distribute -1. So -1 times 6, so that's -6x. A negative times a negative is positive. So plus 3, so this is -10x plus 3. Okay, let me give you a chance to try problem 15 on your own. Okay, there's your answer for problem 15. All right, problem 16, we're going to distribute the -6 here, and then I'm going to distribute a -2 over here. So -6 times 2x is -12x. -6 times 3y is going to give me -18y. And here I'm going to be thinking of this -2 as a -2. -2 times 4 is a -8. So I write -8x. -2 times -5 is a +10. So then I'm going to combine my like terms. Combining my x's together, I get -20x. Combining my y's together, I get -8y.